Hello and welcome to the Order of the Blazing Horse, the only Detroit Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I'm one of your hosts, Harry Moros, here with my buddy
Mickey Jacobs. Thanks for tapping in.
And you might be wondering about that mystical prophecy stuff. We'll get to that in a second. I assure you we'll explain it. A little background on who we are. We're just a couple of buddies from Michigan. Met in LA, though, on the comedy scene. Mickey is a writer, wrote for Clone High. We met at a now defunct, for the time being, video production place, right? We're kind of stuff like Children's Hospital, Mystery Science Theater, so on and so forth. We don't need to talk about credits and plugs, but you need to know them.
Just Google us.
Yeah, just Google us. Don't Google too hard, but Google a little bit.
A soft Google, yeah.
And we were, we're like kind of friends there. And hey, it looks like we have audio, so that's a big deal. But we really made things happen when we started talking about the Pistons. And that's when I moved back to Michigan, really found the team. And we watched the last 2 seasons, I believe, is what we commiserated over. I hate to admit that I watched and DVR'd or taped, whatever you want to call it, every game for the last 2 years, including all 31 wins total for the last 2 seasons.
Oof. It's been tough.
But that being said, you made it so much better for me because we could talk positives. We talked hope with this team. And I feel like a lot of the airwaves were pretty negative, and kind of rightfully so. But this is my team. This is my sports team. This is your sports team. We want to hope for good things with these guys.
Totally. It was so helpful just chatting too, partially because I don't think a ton of people are watching. Like I know Pistons fans were like, yeah, for my mental health, I had to stop. But you and I were kind of like a 2-man support group, which was definitely needed.
Very much needed. And some of the texts were great that I got from you, but the weirdest text I got from you was after the last game of the season against the San Antonio Spurs. So why don't you tell our viewing audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's pretty weird. But in the final seconds of the last game of the worst season in franchise history, I was just drowning my sorrows in a hot and ready, as you do. And then all of a sudden, my vision kind of went blurry. And I saw that I don't know what else to call it other than like a vision, essentially. I was visited by Hooper. It had to have been Hooper. I don't know any other horses who wear basketball shorts. And he shared this message with me, and I wrote it down on the only thing I had handy, which is this coupon for Little Caesars Crazy Puffs. I'm gonna put it up here, but I'll read it aloud. It's a whole thing. Okay, here we go. With 94 wins in the past 5 years, Woodward flows with Pistons fans' tears. Though times are tough, the tides will turn to a time when boys were bad and men went to work. Just when it seems all hope is dying, Detroit will reclaim the Larry O'Brien. Against all odds, they'll win with force. So spread the gospel, Order of the Blazing Horse.
Some of those rhymes a little bit of a stretch, I'm going to admit, but he's a horse, so
he's got bars. I was impressed.
We'll give him some credit.
Yeah.
What does a horse know about riding with work?
Yeah. But I'm not an expert, but that it seemed like a prophecy to me. And there's plenty of Pistons podcasts from some people who know what they're talking about, some people who don't. Didn't want to start a podcast, don't really have a ton of time to start a podcast. You're a busy guy. You've got a lot going on.
I had no interest in starting this podcast, but like you, I had the same prophecy, same day. And that was the craziest part about it, that we both had this. Because when I thought I was having like a dream. Horse showed up. He's got his shorts on. I was like, thank God for that. I don't need to see what Hooper's dealing with downstairs. But he read that verse and I was like, okay, it's a rap battle. I guess I'm reliving my college days at this point, reliving my 8 Mile history. Cool. But then he told us, I guess he told me at the time, told both of us overall, that it was our duty to make this podcast because if we didn't podcast and stream until the Pistons won another championship, they would never win another championship. But they will return to greatness. And that was like the craziest thing he said, because I was like, this team? I don't know about that.
It's going to be an uphill battle. Yeah, it's going to be tricky, but we'll just do this until they win another chip, and then we can stop and go back to our lives, I guess.
Make it soon. Please make it soon. Because like you said, I didn't want a podcast. You didn't want a podcast. But I even told him in the dream I didn't want a podcast. And then he dunked on me, put his shorts in my face. When you get posterized by a horse, you just got to do what he says. So I guess
you got yammed on.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
So I guess that's our situation. We are here. We are the prophets, bringing you the order of the blazing horse. And, hopefully we can gain more followers along the way. Maybe the more followers we get, the faster this whole experience goes along. But
yeah, we'd love to find some fellow believers, I guess, if there are any out there still.
The Moro's Al, my brother, asked if the situation is our first guest. He's from Jersey. This is a Detroit Pistons podcast. I guess the situation could be on here. We'll reach out to the situation. He would be welcome. He's
tech avail, I hear too.
Oh yeah. We'll get Pauly D to mix as well. I've seen him spinning around. I don't know what's up with the situation too much, but we'll find out what's happening with him. One situation I do know is happening is that you and I had put together some candidates that we wanted to see for the Hobo. That's what the Detroit Pistons were calling it. The head of basketball operations, the Hobo. Very good name up there.
Yeah. Nothing weird or off color about that.
No.
I love that they walked it back too. It's the Pobo now, but for a while it was definitely Hobo.
Mm-hmm. Pobo's not great.
They found their
Pobo sounds like a sandwich, like you said.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's an improvement still from Hobo. But
sure, should have got a shrimp in
either
there.
way.
Shrimp would be the real Pobo. Earl Boykin, shout out, Eastern Michigan, 5'4". But so like when we're hunting around for the Hobo, again, head of basketball operations, we're not into that, other stuff. While we were doing that, we're like, okay, that'll be the first episode of the podcast. Yesterday, this is how you know the prophecy is for real. They actually did get a head of basketball operations. They named one, and he's somebody you might be familiar with, Trajan Langdon, former Duke basketball player and baseball player, the Alaskan Assassin, played in the NBA, formerly a scout of the San Antonio Spurs, assistant GM, I believe, with the Brooklyn Nets, and the GM for the last 4 years of New Orleans Pelicans, the team I've been pining over for the last 2 seasons. They've been great. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's not who I would have selected as the Hobo, but it's where we're at. Do you have any thoughts on him as the head of basketball operations?
Yeah, I just feel like any news is good news at this point. I just anything that leads to progress, I'm here for. But we were talking about some of the guys he's drafted over the years, and there's some really good names out there. What were some? Because I know there was
some of the names.
Some of those.
Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. Last year, Jordan Hawkins. And before that, Dyson Daniels, I believe, was their 2022 pick.
I think he drafted Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's balling out for the T-Wolves right now.
Those are all studs that would be killer on the Pistons. Like, those are the exact need players that the Pistons team has right now. So I'm geeked about that. And I know Arn Tellem was his agent back when he was a player, but guess what? Arn Tellem was my agent when I was in AAU, coming off the bench as a 4'11", 16-year-old. He represented everybody.
Secret Arn Tellem client here.
That's right. I'll tell everybody. He's involved with everybody. Don't worry about the Arn Tellem stuff. I like this hire, and I was a UNC fan, so I should be hating on the Duke boy. I'm not. I'm all about this. I think it's good. Again, not who I would have chosen. You and I have some different candidates that we would really like to have seen. So shall we get into some of those? Some of our personal list of characters?
Yeah, I think character is a really good way of putting it. Do you want to kick us off with your top pick?
Sure. This is my number one guy. And for the people who are viewing, I think all of you know me. You probably will not be surprised by this pick at all. It's pretty simple. And he actually has a lot of the same traits that make Trajan Langdon such an exciting hire. He was a former player. He's got a scouting background. This guy aspired to be a coach as well. He gets some coaching background as well. I think he's very fun. He's got good energy. He's motivated. He believes in himself, and he believes in the talent he sees. Of course, y'all know I'm talking about my guy, Stanley Sugarman. from the movie
Chugs.
Hustle. I mean, look at that drip. That is the Piston City Edition orange. As soon as I saw him in that sweatsuit, I'm like, we got to get this guy in our front office. He made Juancho Hernan-Gomez look good, man. He made me want to sign Juancho Hernan-Gomez on the Pistons. That's a feat.
Definitely. Great pick. Great movie. I'm here for it.
Wonderful.
It's like
stuff.
almost got me thinking like, yeah, Billy Madison like wouldn't even be the worst pick. But I'm not saying that. That's not one of mine.
That's not a bad one though. Billy Madison would be good. He knows how to talk and relate to the kids. We have a very young team.
Quick
the reason
learner.
I should have been a little bit better is like he's got the dad energy. His daughter, she could be good for social media for the team. This team could use some new energy. I'm feeling it. Mickey, why don't you tell me about your first pick?
Yeah. Great pick, by the way. I was just thinking about, we got a young team. It's a real youth movement. So for my first pick, him from the 2017 DreamWorks film, The Boss Baby. My pick's Boss Baby. Look at him. Look at him right there. So, first of all, talking about drip, he looks great. This is a business I know he's a baby. He's a boss who better to relate to? He's a boss baby. Who better to relate to the youth than him? He clearly wheels and deals. You hear a lot about like, is he a Weaver guy? I feel like Boss Baby is a Gores guy.
No doubt.
And that's, I feel like those two are lockstep.
I can just see Tom Gores doing lines of coke off the Boss Baby's head, just straight snorting on the hairline. Yeah. Then they go down, they get the t-shirt cannon, they let Boss Baby fire off the t-shirt cannon. He goes flying. I'm so for this pick, Mick.
Thanks. Yeah, would have been a good option.
Business savvy, very sure of himself. Got a great basketball-sized head. He's got a basketball head. I buy it.
Yeah.
All right.
So, who's next?
On to my next pick. Who do I want to talk about next? Let me see. Oh, okay. This makes a lot of sense to me. This guy, I feel like the Pistons have a lot of problems. There's a lot of issues going on. When you look around on Twitter and you see people reporting about the team, they're like, this is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. There's so many. It's like it's a rat's nest. I need somebody who can see everything. You can see the big picture. You can point out what's wrong, where the mysterious injuries are coming from. We need a real detective on the case to head up our basketball team. So I like me some Benoit Blanc. Ooh. Benoit Blanc from the Knives Out series. This guy would tear it up. And could you imagine the sound drops that we would get out of this guy at press conferences? Now, I understand that there's reason to believe that Isaiah Stewart can play the four. I've just never seen any evidence to suggest that is a fact.
We need better spacing around Cade. I love it. I love it. I would love to see this guy there. He's got a cool head on his shoulders, and he has such a disdain for stupidity. I feel like that was a little foghorn leghorn. I can agree that like it's a little in there as far as the same voice.
Yeah, it's the same voice with less mansplaining. I think foghorn leghorn is the ultimate mansplainer. That guy is such a problem. Like, of course he's hanging out with all ladies. He's got now the proper way to lay an egg is to you put your hind up there and then you just want to force it. Now I don't know necessarily because I'm a male chicken. Is that even a thing? A rooster, I guess. He just smacks them on the butt and they come out. But that's very Benoit Blanc. And so like his disdain for stupidity, his ability to see all the problems and to work his way through it, to get to the core of the problem and diagnose it, that's what makes him a very appealing head of basketball operations candidate to me.
I love it. I think this rebuild has been a bit of a mystery in and of itself. So I think having a sleuth on the case could not hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Great pick.
Thank
Harry.
you very much.
All right.
So now we're on to yours. Yeah.
So this is kind of a vibes pick. I feel like energy is important.
For sure.
People talk a lot about golden retriever energy. So I'm going to go with former player, my boy Airbud.
Oh,
look at him. Okay. The two-handed, two-pawed yam.
Smiling.
Just throwing it down. Look, I think a lot of it's boiled down to energy. He's got experience. Just counterpoint. sometimes players don't always make the best execs. You know, you look at Isaiah Thomas, hate to say it, Michael Jordan, you know, it doesn't always carry over to the front office.
But if I might interrupt you on those two guys specifically, here's where Air Bud is better. Air Bud shows more tongue on the slam than Michael Jordan. That's better.
That's true.
That's an improvement. Isaiah Thomas was part of the bad boys. Yeah, Air Bud, this team is the good boys. That is the positive direction for this team to be going in. I think.
The good boys.
The Detroit Good Boys.
I love it. I love it. And like, you know, just I think the main thing at the end of the day too is that there's nothing in the rules that says a dog can't be your head of basketball operations. You know,
sure.
Just on the technicality.
Wouldn't it be so great to see Adam Silver as like the villain and all this? Like, I don't know if this could go down. And he's all scared. And then like there's a scene where they dump like a Gatorade bottle on Air Bud. A scene, like a moment when the Pistons actually win. They dump a Gatorade bottle over Air Bud. Adam Silver's there, arms crossed. Air Bud shakes it all off all over him. These are social media moments that, I mean, if you're thinking about visibility for your team, that'll put them on ESPN. That'll put you on Max or whatever apps are playing basketball. I don't know how any of that's going, but
yeah,
I love this pick. I'd scratch you behind the ears for this pick. This is a wonderful pick, Nick.
I love it. And I love the Gatorade viral moment, as long as it's not the grape Gatorade, you know, which is poison to dogs, as we all know.
Thank you for
we're all dog owners here. Just want to clarify.
I hadn't considered that. I should be I'm a doggy daddy too. I should have known.
Getting out in front of it. Who do you got next?
Okay, for our next one. Now, I know I talked about the good boys, but the Pistons are a bad boys team. They've got this energy to them. They've got this grit. They've got this fight. You know that you want them to see red and take over, and just like when they see an opportunity to make the most of it, you want them to be money on the court. You want them to be ruthless. You want somebody who can change the game in that regard. And that's why I'm looking at Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
Ooh, the Gex.
The
Look at
Gex.
that smirk.
I mean, the way I see it, if you can't get Pat Riley, get a guy who looks exactly like Pat Riley.
If you squint, it's literally Pat Riley.
Oh yeah. And
he definitely modeled himself after Gekko for sure.
He must have. I don't know who's older, Gordon Gekko or Pat. I think Pat Riley actually might be a little bit older. That man is ancient, so he kind of looks a little bit of like Pat Riley plus Larry King, I think. And
definitely,
I think I'm fine with that. I would love to see Gordon Gekko, Larry King grilling the Pistons about their coaching decisions. Like, I know they talked to Monty Williams last year about like, have you ever thought about this? Could you imagine Gordon Gekko talking to him about like the decisions he's made? I don't know if Monty Williams would even be here anymore. He wouldn't take the buyout. He'd just take himself out, I think, in that regard. No beef with Monty. You know, he's a successful coach in his own right. I just want what's best for the Pistons. I think Gordon Gekko is great for the Pistons.
I love it. His whole thing is greed is good. And, you know, you apply that to draft picks. Let's hoard some draft picks. Let's do it. Let's give it to someone in control. So my next pick is definitely along those lines of like a real business savvy, cutthroat kind of guy. You know him from Succession. My dude, Logan Roy. Okay.
Ooh, vicious.
Cold. Ice cold. Not a fan of his politics, but he gets shit done. And he's not afraid to step on people to get ahead, even if it's his own children. And, you know, like people have talked about nepotism in the Pistons organization. And I feel like that's not going to be a problem here.
Absolutely. I mean, like so many people have a problem with, like we mentioned earlier, the relations that Arn Tellem has to like his son. And like, if we know anything, he will make sure you don't listen to your kid if your kid's got bad ideas. This guy built an empire. He built a real empire, and that's what the Pistons want. They want an empire. So I love this pick. Let's get rid of those tortoiseshell glasses. Got to get him some buffs. Get this man some Cartier Detroit buffs. Yes. I want to see Logan Roy in the buffs, and that's the sort of succession plan I want to see have coming on. One thing I will say, if he is the head of basketball operations, I don't want his kids anywhere near this team at all. I know we keep it away. I don't want him even teasing those kids on here. I can't imagine the sort of ethical conundrums the Pistons would get into if any of them were out and about. I'm talking any of them.
Yeah, we don't need any more scandal.
And once again, we're talking about kids. This is going to be my final candidate for the position. And like we mentioned earlier in the stream, the Pistons are a team full of young kids with like superpowers. Like Cade Cunningham, he gets like stronger and stronger and stronger as the seasons go on. He's like a true leader too. He's really taken on that leadership role. You got Jalen Duren, who's like a rebounding monster. Asar Thompson, what a defensive stud, and just like such great leaps. And you have Jaden Ivey, who's so fast. These four guys, they all have like elite skill sets. And I think they need someone to really help them hone and come together as a team. And, you know, when I think about that, there's only one person, if I can say person, who is capable of doing so, and that's Splinter from the original Ninja Turtles movie. And I mean specifically this Splinter. I don't want to see any of these CGI animated ones. I want the hairy rat that was playing around in the muck in the 90s movie. Splinter could turn them into a true team. And let's be honest, is there anyone better for a hobo position? This man lives in the sewers. He's essentially a hobo. And that's where the Pistons are right now. They're in the basement. He can make the most out of them. He can make things happen.
There's a lot of reasons why this works. First of all, if he could do half of what he did for the Ninja Turtles to the Pistons, I'm sold. Second of all, there's this great layer too of a rat in Little Caesars Arena. He's kind of becomes the pizza rat. I don't know. Like talk about branding, marketing, just throwing stuff out there.
Truly had not considered the pizza element of it. You just made my case way stronger, sticky, stretchy. That's the guy. That's the guy we should get. Or the rat. He's the rat for the job. We could play rat when he gets hired. I mean, we already have a person, but that's fine.
Love him.
Wonderful. So, Mickey, I believe you have one more candidate that you think would be.
I got the final pick. So my final pick is from Space Jam, not this newfangled Space Jam. This is the OG 90s Space Jam. It's Lola Bunny. Look at her.
What a hot pick.
Yeah. I know. Well, literally. And this is before they kind of toned her down, you know.
I do want to say a hot pick about your selection. I don't want to give off any vibes about this energy. I'm a progressive man. We don't need to comment on it.
That's what I meant too. Yeah. That's what I meant too as well. In addition. Hot pick, hot choice. So we know she knows the game. Mm-hmm. We know she can play. She can hold her own against the best. She can rally the troops. Again, you've got the problem, like, do players make the best execs? I like her. I like her energy. I think she's sassy, and I think she's got a good head on her shoulders. And again, the Pistons have a lot of scandals, or at least a scandal. It might be good to get a woman in the cut, and it might also be good to get a furry in the cut. You know, I feel like it's time. It's 2024. It ticks another box.
You know this.
Give her a shot.
You know we're gonna get a vision from Hooper tomorrow saying, "Why didn't you do this podcast earlier? And why didn't they hire Lola Bunny?" Easy, Hooper. I know. It in your shorts. But
calm down. Calm down.
I do want to say, as far as the scandal stuff goes, she keeps bugs in check. I like that. I like that she stands up for herself. I like that she believes in herself and that she's a strong, independent bunny. I love the pick. And like I said, progressive. Let's be very forward. Let's get this lady, this furry, this bunny. Let's get this baby bunny, the Detroit Bad Bunnies. I don't know if I like Bad Bunny, but whatever. We'll get her into.
I think a name's taken. Yeah. Look, this is all a moot point. They got their guy. Mm-hmm. But I like this list, and I had a lot of fun compiling it with you. I was surprised by some of yours. And who knows? Like, maybe I hope everything goes great. I hope Langdon's the dude. I hope it sticks. But if not, we got some good backups. We got a nice short list going, I think.
Absolutely. I think they could easily come to us, hear what we have to say. We can be just as good as Turnkey. Probably not as expensive either. We'll do it for the subs. Ask us for the subs. Sure. That's what be, which you can't even do yet because we're not even that big. But sub to us on the podcast. That would be nice for that. So we got our Hobo. Assistant to Hobo is still available. Assistant Hobo Pride of Detroit. It's my buddy Jeremy. Sorry to dox you like that, but everybody knows that man's a celebrity. Assistant to the Hobo. At this man. Super Michigan famous. I've been with him when he's been recognized. pretty cool stuff. We do have a hobo. I'm happy we have that because we got the draft coming up. That's going to be not too far away, right? It's like a month or so away, something like that.
Yeah.
So
very exciting.
I think that's probably what we're going to have to talk about on our next stream, on our next podcast. We have the number 5 pick. By we, of course, I mean the Detroit Pistons, who I guess because we're now part of this religion or cult, whatever you want to call it, this order. We is the collective we. Number 5, there are a lot of intriguing options there, but also we're constantly falling to number 5 for whatever reason. So I guess we'll look into that on the next week. But in closing, that's essentially where we're at. We'll be back here next week to talk about the future of the Pistons, to talk about the draft picks. And one last thing before we get out of here, we have an email address set up for y'all.
We do. Yeah.
Send in stuff.
Super simple. orderoftheblazinghorse@gmail.com. Just exactly how it sounds. That's how it's spelled. If you saw the prophecy from Hooper, or if you had any other hobo picks that we might have missed, or if you just want to, you're lonely and you want 2 guys to talk to, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
We would love to hear other people have witnessed the prophecy. That'd be very nice. We don't want to be feeling like Joan of Arc here on the Order of the Blazing Horse, which also is a cool acronym because it kind of sounds like a horse. That's like kind of a horse name.
It works. There's levels to it. I love that.
Mm-hmm. I'll stick with Twitch chat. That's fine with me. And Moro's Ale, my bro, you're right. It is so annoying how many people stop us and demand to kiss the Pride of Detroit rings. Jerry's Little Caesar. No, wait. I don't want to say what type of pizza you're into. It should be Little Caesars just because of this whole Pistons thing, but we won't mention what it is. But yes, please send us emails. Let us know what you want to see, that you've seen the prophecy, how you feel about the head of basketball operations, if you had a choice for head of basketball operation, and who you want to take with the number 5 pick. But with that, I'm Harry Moros.
And I'm Mickey Jacobs.
And we thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing you next week on this, the Order of the Blazing Horse. Whoop.